topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Legacy Leavers series on Success Secrets Exposed. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time or Wednesday mornings in Australia on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. The series showcases experts, changemakers, and disruptors leaving a lasting legacy with those sharing their wisdom with the world.
Good morning, good evening, and good day to you all, and welcome to another episode of Success Secrets Exposed. I have a phenomenal guest for you today, and today's guest is Jane Slack-Smith, who is a trailblazing property investment strategist, a business coach, and a self-development mentor. From her beginnings as an explosives expert in the mining industry to building an 8-figure property portfolio, Jane has dedicated her career to helping others unlock abundance and success. She's been twice named Australia's Mortgage Broker of the Year, and she blends property investment expertise, marketing, AI, and intuitive practices to guide heart-led leaders towards creating impactful businesses and lives that they love. Now, she's a celebrated speaker, author, and educator, and Jane has shared her wisdom with over 30,000 individuals, empowering them to overcome limiting beliefs and take that quantum leap towards the life they desire. She's been featured on magazine covers, in Australian Story on ABC, and is a finalist in the 2024 inaugural Australian AI Awards. Jane's mission is clear: to help you align your aspects of your life to achieve abundance without sacrificing happiness or working harder. So please help me welcome to the stage Jane Slack-Smith as we explored Happiness Rewired.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Sally.
You're very welcome. I'm super excited to be sharing with you today all of your wisdom. I know we've spoken over many months at different times, and I always come away with my mind blown and lots of practical notes and tips to implement. So thank you for sharing with us today.
Can't wait to get started.
Awesome. So on that note, do share with us, we talk about, and I love the mining industry and the explosives connection. So what inspired you to transition from that world to the property investing and now mentoring? Tell us some of that backstory.
Well, it's, I grew up on a farm in country New South Wales, and, to actually get to university, I remember sitting on the lounge room floor writing out, applications for scholarships. My mum and dad and I think we sent like 140 away because I knew I had to get to university to learn how to learn that discipline. And I was very confident that, I wanted to go into marketing and PR. I was good at sciences, but I knew that I could, maneuver my way around and be successful in whatever I chose. And that really, we'll come back to this, but that really came back from a childhood belief that my mum and dad had instilled in me. My mum used to whisper in my sister and my ear every night, "You're Jane Slack-Smith, you can do anything but fly, and with God's help you can fly." So we always had this built-in kind of positive expectation. And I got a scholarship, but it was as a mining engineer, which was a bit of a shock. And so I spent 4 years at university studying mining engineering. In 1989, I turned up at a mine, and they'd only just changed the legislation in Australia to let women work there, and 300 men went on strike because they didn't want to work with a woman. And so that was kind of confronting. I was like, yeah, I'm here to change the world. And I was like, oh, wait a second, they left. That was one of those moments, those pivotal moments where you had to sit back and go, no, I believe in myself. I can do this. This is, I can't fight that kind of I guess it was like an internal thing that they had going on. I could just be the best version of myself. And so, over the months that I was there on my holiday vacation, got to know everyone. They were giving me books at the end going, gosh, if you're going to be an engineer and a mine manager, you should know this. We haven't told the real guys this. But so I was getting all these like insights.
Yeah.
And then I studied risk assessment, and, I looked at how to assess risk. And that's really important when you're dealing with explosives. and so when I did that, my husband and I, or my then boyfriend 25 years ago, we're looking at how could we create wealth that was sustainable. We both had parents we felt responsibility for. And I thought, well, if I could apply risk assessment to property investing, then there's something there. And like a good engineer, I had 121 books on property. So I was like learning everyone's kind of techniques. And I love those stories about when people got things wrong, because I was like, okay, won't do that.
Yeah.
And what worked. And so I love those stories of, I made millions of dollars and then I lost it all. I'm like, how did you lose it? So I kind of built up a best practice around investing. And then I took the 16,655 suburbs in Australia and I put them over the last 20 years, all their data, into a kind of analysis and went, well, what made some properties work, suburbs work, and what didn't? And I only had $45,000, so I had to get it right. And so we did the analysis on the suburbs. What was the criteria? Hoped we projected into the future that that would manifest into those suburbs also growing. We chose 3 suburbs. We went to the auctions. We're looking for a property to create instant equity with renovation. And so I kind of stumbled upon my Trident strategy, 3 ways of making money, which was how you buy, knowing the value and how to negotiate, adding value quickly. Our technique was renovation, and people do subdivisions, granny flats, etc. And then being in a growth area. So if I really stuffed one up, I had the other 2 to fall back on, and created a property portfolio very quickly within 5 years, and then showed my friends and family, and they created multi-million-dollar property portfolios, very structured, very low risk. When the Money Magazine editor used to ring me for an article, she'd go, Jane, I just need your meat and potatoes boring, because everyone else is like, very sensational. And I was like, okay, well, just stick to the facts. And I got to the stage where I was like, I need more friends. If this could affect everyday Australians, and I could assist the families to get over one of the biggest hurdles, divorce, more than 50% of relationships divorce, number one reason is finance. And I thought, well, if we can tick off the finance thing and have people financially secure, there's more parents sitting around the table with their kids being role models and having intergenerational change. So I threw away this amazing career in the mining industry and went for a commission-only business and started a mortgage broking business. So that's how I got into my first life's change in that career.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And I just want to go back one step because, I love the numbers. So you worked with your Trident strategy and you narrowed it down to 3 suburbs. What was the big number? Because I wasn't quick enough to write that down.
16,655.
Yes. I know you've mentioned it a couple of times for me, but I wasn't quite quick enough to write that down. And that's what I love about your methodology is you've actually laid the groundwork. You've gone through and the process is to take it from those large numbers to bring it down to the 3 perfect for you and your strategy and what you were looking at. And that essence of that, super complex down to the super duper, as you said, meat and potato simplicity is everything that I see you do, regardless of whether it's the property, the marketing, or the AI stuff. So
just picking up on that, Sally, and thank you for that, because it went further than that, because you can use, in Australia, we have the opportunity to have census data. So once I had selected the suburbs, I could actually see the streets in the suburbs where the renters wanted to live. So I went down to the streets, and then I could assess how to minimize my risk was what was the typical property. So I wasn't buying a brick 4-bedroom house on 200 square meters. I was buying the 3-bedroom weatherboard and 600 square meters that was typical, because my fallback was, well, if I have to get out of this, maybe due to bad or good circumstances, who knows? My son could have been a equestrian champion and needed a horse. If I have to get out quickly, how could I do that? And the typical property sells and rents, the fastest. So, and I did that, and then I applied that to my mortgage business as well, with a little bit of audacity. I sat down and thought, how could I start a business like I started investing and hack my way to success by learning my other people's mistakes? How could I leapfrog? First of all, I got a mentor because he'd done it before. And then what I did was I wrote down 30 questions about starting a business. And it's funny, I've shared this on stages since then, and a lot of people have taken this, even though they're in business, so take notes, and then gone and done this in retrospect and interviewed other business owners in the same niche. But essentially, based on the premise of ask forgiveness, not permission, I'd ring up and say, oh, look, I see you're a mortgage broker and I'm thinking about getting into the industry. Do you mind if I ask some questions? Because I see that, you really have an incredible profile and, you're amazing. And they go, oh, yes, of course. And so by the time I get to about question 15, they go, wait a second, who are you again? But it was like everything from where do you get your clients? Do you pay for referrals? All the way down to what phone plan are you on? And way back, it was like, what fax machine did you buy? And what's the one thing you wish you could have told yourself before you started? And so I had a best practice before I even started the business of what a business should be like. And then I, like a good engineer, wrote my procedures and scripts. So I wrote a procedure for my VA personal assistant who was in my office 5 years before I employed her. And I had her daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual tasks written out.
Yeah, wow. So can you just repeat that for the audience that's going, oh my God, that far in advance? But this to me is the gold that you have around hacking it and asking the right, it's not just asking the right questions, it's asking the right awesome questions and then working out what you can do to put the steps in place, which with a little bit of stop, let's plan, let's create, now let's explode into growth is part of that genius. So I think that that element that you've talked about of that preparation is key. When you've I can imagine, because my head just rolled as you said that, and I'm sort of like to be organised and plan like you. What's your experience when you're having that conversation with people, either individually or within the room, when they realise what you've done to craft those best practices? Because most people don't want to take the time to do it. Let's be honest.
They're shocked, and I subsequently went on and thought I needed to save more Australians and created Your Property Success, a property education business.
Correct.
And I at that stage as well, I was like, I'm not a genius. I haven't created something. All I've done is taken the wisdom of others, and you don't need to be the most amazing person on the pedestal, the guru on the stage. You just have to create what you want to create. And I had a very true vision of the intergenerational change I was creating by having financial abundance for people in their lives. And so when I speak to business owners and I say, you can actually manufacture your success, and it's a planned and way, it's a choice. And it's about not having to brave it all yourself. It's about seeing those who've walked the steps before and taking their wisdom. And, I've got 4 mentors in different areas of my life. I've had a mentor since that day one, 20 years ago. And, they've done it, and they can keep you accountable, and they can give you the awareness of what you're missing. And, when I speak and share this with people, they sit back and go, well, I don't have to work it all out myself. And there's people out there that if you ring up and go, look, I think you're amazing. Do you mind if I interview you? And one incredible mortgage broker that listened to me in this on stage once, he reached out recently and he said, I took what you said and I went and met with mortgage brokers in their businesses and asked them about best practice and shared what I was finding as well. We've implemented that into our business, which has just, taken it, skyrocketed it. So it's not something you have to do in the beginning. It's something where you can reach out and go, you know, everyone likes to have their ego stroked as well. So you're kind of playing on that a little bit. It's a give, take, give and receive. So you're like, look, I've learnt these things that you may see interesting in your business, or I've met this person. And I think everyone, you know, regardless of why they say yes, maybe it's just the shock, or maybe it's the ego, or maybe they want to give back, or maybe they said yes and they were distracted. You know, you can, what I've found is people are often very honest and vulnerable when you ask those questions. We have a show as a business owner that everything's okay, mate, you know, she'll be right, and everything's great. And you go home to your wife or your husband, you go, had a great day, and inside you're like, can I make, you know, cash flow this week to pay for people? And you know, I think it's around that fact, as another business owner, you can share those vulnerabilities and go, you know, we do go through difficult times. We do have the customer we invested all that time in who says no at the last minute, or, you know, we have that staff member that we trained and invested time and money and IP in, and they go, oh, I'm jumping for another job for an extra 10 grand. You're like, you know, we have those down days, but, you know, keeping that vision of why we're doing what we're doing, and knowing that, you know, we've got an opportunity to transform people through our businesses. And that's what we're selling. We're selling transformation, be it insurance or be it blinds for a house. You know, we're all selling something, and it's about realizing, for me, it was about realizing sales wasn't a bad thing, and we're better collectively than we are alone.
Yeah, and I'm finding from an insights perspective, mine, you know, we've had the last 12 months where lots of people have been collaborating, and now I'm starting to see collectives form where we've got groups of people moving together collectively for the greater good of everybody. So I think it's certainly an exciting time to be in business and creating that change that we're starting to see through the world that's occurring. So I want to go back to the fact that you've combined your property investing, AI, and personal development, and that you're clearly a teacher that loves to hack the crap out of everything. And I'm just going to pass that over to you, and you just dive where you'd like to.
Okay. Well, I guess if I just take you a little bit further on the journey of that property education, and once again, I was like, I don't need to recreate this. People that I saw doing it were selling properties off the back of their education. I felt that was not incongruent to the integrity of the education piece. So I actually invested in, you know, marketing mentors in the States. I was flying backwards and forwards in the States, trying to have that integrity piece of really coming from service. And so, you know, my business partner and I started Your Property Success, and we decided to create the ultimate guide to renovation course, which was going to be an easy video course, which turned up to be like 160 hours of filming on sites and renovations. But it was very powerful, and you know, it made millionaires basically from 2012 until it recently came off the market, and I'll tell you why. But I would make people go through each of the modules, and they go, no, I've already renovated, I've already bought property, I understand investing, I've got 6 properties. Just let me get to the good bit, the renovating bit. I'm like, no, I want you to do the goals and vision first. And like, can you just get me ahead? I'm like, nope. And people would come back and go, you know, I've been renovating or buying properties or creating what I thought was the vision for my family's financial future. And it wasn't until you made me sit down and talk about the goals that I really connected to it. And actually, I'm, you know, maybe I've put my ladder up against the wrong wall that I'm climbing, and I appreciate that. And that was great. And then I got to the point where people were buying the course and not doing it. And I was taking exception to that.
I'm glad you brought this up.
And then I was like, just follow the bouncing ball. Like, seriously, you can make money. And it's, you know, this is low risk. It's statistics, research based, and you know, personalized for what you do. And so I thought, why don't I take on some mentoring clients? And if I can't see a 10x benefit to them, I won't take them on, but I'll take on, you know, 10 mentoring clients at a time. And, you know, we're going through this process, of, these people, would do the vision call, and I kind of do a bit of a quantum leap to the future of what the ideal life was and how much they needed for that ideal life. And I come back to the current reality and go, where are you now? And what's the bridge? How many properties or wherever? Some people were having, sleepless nights. And, I have working 2 jobs. And we're like, actually, you've already got enough money. Like, you're good. It's like, I didn't stop and check. And other people were inspired by the fact that, okay, it's only like 2 properties or 1 property, or, I can do this. I can, and I've done the same with business coaching clients. It's like, okay, it's that many courses or that many speaking events or that many books or whatever. And so I got to a point, and there was this one lady in particular, and we'd done this beautiful thing, and we'd got from the 16,655 suburbs. I'd set up alerts for her in these suburbs. This property came up. I did a deal review, looked at comparables of other properties, looked at pest and building inspections. I'm like, this is great. Get your buyer's agent, or you go and negotiate on this. And she said, it doesn't feel right. And I was like, you spent a lot of money on me to coach you in this, and what's going on? And I said, I was like, well, what else is not going right? She said, gosh, I've been hanging out for this dream job, but I don't know if it's the right time. And I was like,
That came up twice.
Okay, what's going on? And I said, just tell me, what's success look like for you? And she said, the big house by the beach and our family and friends. I was like, okay, no. Okay, let's just take a moment, go into, in your heart, quiet time, little visualization. You're projecting down the future and you're on this path. What's success look like? And she said, I'm an old maid dying alone in a mansion. And I was like, no wonder your subconscious is getting in the way of your success. So let's redefine success and create a very visual component of what that is. And now I know with my work with neuroscientists that what we do is we create emotion to that, and we create a heightened sense, because the brain can't tell time. So gratitude for what we've created, the emotion of it, it goes up in our story box of information to the hierarchy. So in times of questions, we go straight to it. We're like, that's what I want. And we create a very realistic where you are at the moment, because it's not like you think it's going to happen. Like, where are we and what's the next obvious step? Let's not orchestrate how you're going to get there, but just one step at a time, because if you orchestrate it, you lose opportunities, coincidences, synchronicities. And so I worked with her on that, and it struck me that there was something that was internal, that were the stories people were telling themselves that were getting in the way. And as a mortgage broker, often we'd go all the way down the path of getting the finance set up for someone, and then they wouldn't buy a property. And as a mortgage broker, you don't charge, and therefore, it's a cost to you. And and it was just considered to be the way business was done.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, there's going to be so many of these pre-approvals that just don't happen. And I thought, no, I don't accept that. So I found this quote by Bishop Desmond Tutu, and he said, I was pulling drowning people out of the river, but I realized if I went upstream, I could stop them jumping in.
Whoa, goosebumps. Yep.
I know, right? And so I was sitting there and I was like, I've been thinking that if I could help people's financial future, then they can get on with their life that they want and they desire. What if I'm making that a condition? What if I'm part of the problem here? What if I could find a way to help people understand and have an awareness of the stories, the patterns, the habits, the limiting beliefs, whatever's come up, and give them orientation and direction? And so I found the work of William Whitecloud in 2020, and I did his course, and he's one of my mentors now that I coach one-on-one with. And I had that kind of, oh my gosh, I'm creating that condition. People need wealth. And what I realized, and my twist framework now and how I coach people with business and property and mindset is really around, it's the holistic thing. And often it does start with wealth, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
And, that was really, I think, the transformation for me to go, at underlying everything is the the conversations you're having, and self-referential and not looking to others for
yeah. Now, I'd love to dive into this a little bit more, because I know you and I have had conversation around the story box, and you've also just talked about the differential, and you've just very gently just mentioned the your twist framework. So are you happy to talk through that a little bit more to guide people and give people an insight around that? Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you probably worked out by now. I like hacking success. I'm curious.
Absolutely.
I'm an adventurer. I'm a scout. Luckily, I have a very good team that I come up with ideas and go, can we make it happen? I guess the twist framework really came about in the sense that I started looking at, and having studied physics at uni, I was across the quantum and equilibrium, entanglement theory, and there's these things there that fascinated me, and I had this sense then that there's these stories going on. And working with William, I was aware that, I think this Dr. Joe Dispenza says, there's 400 billion pieces of information that your brain receives a second, but we only have capacity for the 2,000 to be processed. Yeah. And I thought, how do we define the 2,000?
Yes,
and it's because our brain is an energy saving machine. It's trying to help us all the time. So what it does is it goes to curated experiences and stories, and the things that have heightened emotion get the height in the hierarchy. And it goes to those and says, a dog barks. What's my experience? I was bitten. Okay, I feel scared. A dog barks. What's my experience? Oh my God, I grew up with dogs. I love them. I feel happy. So we are going to these experiences. And I thought, well, what if I could change the 2,000 bits? How does that work? Yeah. And I was working with William, and he's going, oh, we use your intuition. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a bit woo-woo, like, tell me. And he said, I said, well, how do I develop the gut feel? How do I develop intuition? And he said, great question. When you go on your walks in the morning, every time you get to a corner, you have your destination in mind, but every time you get to a corner, you don't need to know how to get there. So which direction feels right? And so I started going on these intuitive walks. And, if anyone knows Melbourne in lockdown in COVID times, we were the most locked down city in Australia, in the world. I think we were locked down for 276 days. So we were allowed out for 1 hour and then 2 hours and back to 1 hour. And I thought, what if I set the intention in these walks just to see the extraordinary in the ordinary and take a photo that inspires me and lets me see things that I'm not normally seeing? And I do that on these intuitive walks. I just go to somewhere and there it is. And so I started taking these photos, and they all were in my Facebook feed. And every now and then I'd think, oh, that was a good one. And I'd put maybe 100 up on Unsplash, which is the free photo sharing platform. And a year later, 3 people in a week, one man who was a shovel operator at a mine site, and one guy that I knew from digital marketing elite mastermind I was in, and another guy who was in this transformational spiritual creative work, intuitive work, all said to me, I don't like things on Facebook, I don't comment, but your photos got me through a really tough time mentally. And I thought, oh, I wonder how many people looked at my pictures on Unsplash. And I went to Unsplash and it said 30,000. And I was like, what? And then I realized that was for 30 days. And I went to all time, it was 1 million. And now it's 3 million. And people just like, so you're expanding that 2,000 bits of information you get. And that's my intention with the woo being the, window of opportunity, is that science and neuroscience and quantum and all of these things, they were woo 200 years ago. Yeah. And the spiritual ancient wisdom of the past are actually being proven up by many of these things now. And so I love that layering of, not just the spiritual kind of texts and the Stoics and, reading meditations and all of those kind of things from the past, but also the Sufis and the comparative religions and, taking something from the Hindu religion and even in Neville Goddard's work, 1938, around his kind of interpretation of the Bible. It's like 70 times they talk about I am God, which seems sacrilegious being a good Catholic girl, but it actually resonates. Like, if you are the predominant creative force in your life and you have the ability to hack into these stories to create the life that you want, then you are the God within. And so all of things kind of correlate. So I just love that. And then being an efficient, productivity efficiency, if I have to do things twice, I'm always looking at how can I hack it. And so AI came up, and I guess we've just had the second anniversary of OpenAI, but I was using Jasper and other things with one of my other mentors before, and business coaches, and OpenAI came in, and Christmas we're writing pirate ditties. And by January, I was teaching master classes on how to understand your ideal client, how to really have a visceral experience of that. And then, I got to the point where I thought, if I had a dream experience, all of the content and downloading my brain, what would it be? And it'd be, people can ask the dumb questions 24/7. People can come in and engage with me in a way that suited them at the time. And so I kind of designed this whole big, Jane's brain, and I spoke to a couple of founders in Silicon Valley, and I was like, they're like, it's $80,000 to create this, and because I wanted to protect my IP. And then this platform came along. It's like $30 a month. And I now have like an AI avatar where people can FaceTime AI Jane. It's called propertychat.ai. Or they can type in a question and get the source material. So all of my courses, those Ultimate Guide to Renovation courses, all those modules are free. So I'm democratizing the education space. And it allows me also to have insights into the questions that people are asking. And I'll get a report every day that will say things like, someone's asking how to tell their wife they can't make the mortgage payment next week. So it's not just like, how do I create the biggest bang for my buck in a bathroom? And now, because I've got the video, if you're on Safari or Edge, you kind of you can show the bathroom, and it'll go, interesting, a pink 1970s bathroom. Well, the modern colours are, and it will give feedback. So you could take me on a property inspection. So that AI point allowed me to put my education not to waste around the property education. And then the business coaching that I've done, and often I worked with someone this week, and his business wasn't where it was supposed to be. And we're going to go into a vision call, and I just had this kind of intuitive thing that there was something else going on. And we went back, and we went back, and went back. And he was in hiding. He was hiding from telling people about his business. He was turning clients away because of this belief of shame and guilt that he had of abandoning a previous business, and he felt he was being judged. And I was just, I'm not into inner trauma rework. I'm just like, hey, it's an experience you had. Now you have your awareness, put it in your backpack, and let's go on the journey of what you want to create. And it's just that AI allowed us to then, intuitively, I used an intuitive process to understand the problems and what his ideal client was seeking and who they were, and then jumped into creating a number of custom chat GPTs. I'm happy to share some of them with your audience here, but one was just the brand voice, where I just got him to talk about what he does and how he does it. And I asked him some questions, and we put that into the brand voice chat GPT, and it came up with, professional but informal, uses stories, and his tone's warm, and now he has a brand voice that he can use in his marketing. And so I can use the AI but still be authentic, and then create, marketing collateral. Now, use something like that interview to create, 30 pieces of content and articles, etc. So it gives you leverage, but social media is unsocial. It's around your business. People are going to see, but they really want to talk to you. So it's around, I think it's just a way of saying, yep, I'm here. If you want to check me out, here's some of my stuff. It's consistent. And when you're ready, reach out.
Sounds awesome. And bringing in some of the twists. So I wasn't sure whether you wanted to bring some of that in as to what the twist means. So just bring.
Yeah. So I was listening to this podcast by Dan Koe, I think his name is, just recently, and he was talking about the niche of one.
Yes.
And it was so, it really resonated with me, because often what we try to do is find that ideal client, and we're trying to market to that person. What if that person's you? Because often what I've found is people's businesses or their products and services are created around the problem that they had, a lived experience of their own. So what if you are your niche? What if you're answering the questions of your past self now from your future self? Once I get a bit of quantum there. And so I love that idea. And with Twist, I felt really weird, because I have thousands of people in Your Property Success Facebook group. I have people in my Your Success Club group, where I talk about AI imposter syndrome, meeting your past spirit and understanding why you have a feeling of not enough. And then I'm talking about AI and marketing and lead generation. And so I was trying to work with that. And then, I'm working very closely with the neuroscience in understanding the latest research in getting into your parasympathetic. And I thought, I've got all these personalities, too much. I just need one. And so for those that it resonates with, it resonates. And if not, they can go and talk to someone else. But Twist essentially stands for Thrive, Wealth, and then I have interconnection, spirit, and time. So the Thrive is really
beautiful.
where you come from. So if you're not orientated in the present and have that connection to the present, or you're living in the past, or you're living in the future, you can't be here in the now to see the extra around the 2,000 pieces of information. And so how do you do that? Well, I've hacked this with my neuroscientist. She referred this to me. I've got an external sympathetic nerve stimulator, and over 30 days of wearing it 10 minutes a day, it's like an extra hour sleep a month, and reduces stress, etc. But it allows me that vagus nerve to be stimulated to a point where, and you can do it yourself, right? It's vagus nerve. You can rub your ears. You can do parasympathetic sighing, which is the when you see babies, or even your partner, watch them. It's a bit freaky when they're sleeping. When they're getting to sleep, they do this second breath. They go, it's that second breath. 3 of those get you into your parasympathetic. And when you're there, you're more creative. And so it's around that mental hacking of being in the ability to then create. And so there's the physical aspects as well. And, we know about sleep and hydration, all those kind of things. And then there's the mental curiosity of keeping relevant and interested and stimulated. And we know that, the neuroconnections that wire together, we can create new connections. And one of the things that I did in a free masterclass I did in my Your Success Club group just recently was the heart-brain coherence. And that heart map, who've been around for 20 years, have found, and this was only found actually in 1990. They only found that we have 40,000 brain cells in our heart, and with a measurement tool, the magnification or the magnetic force around your heart is 2 meters. It's only a centimeter around your brain.
Wow.
But if you create a heart-brain connection, and there's 4 ways you can do it. It only takes 3 times a day for 3 days, and then you got this neuro connection is made. And all you need to do is take 5 breaths, be in your heart, touch your heart, so you're actually breathing through your heart, so you feel like you're breathing, just getting in the present, and then have an experience for 3 minutes of gratitude or compassion, care, or appreciation. The 4 emotions, you can do them all or just one, but think of a time, and that actually stimulates your white blood cells, that gives you better immunity for up to 6 hours, they've measured. It gives you better creativity, And these are like little hacks, and so this is like the Thrive thing. I'm like, well, if I can get people to be their best version of their physical and mental self, then we can move on to wealth. And obviously, I've created millionaires with property. I help business owners and people around their marketing or the new concepts. Yeah. So there's two kind of ways to wealth that I'm a specialist in, but it's around creating what you really need, because a lot of people are closer than they think, and they've got all this stress which gets them out of their Thrive because of that. So we deal with some wealth components. So I've just done a free masterclass on how to reset your mindset around wealth for 2025. And it's really around, a lot of it comes down to positive expectations that you can, not needing to work it out. And then we've got interconnection, which is our connection with other people. So, if you've got this magnetic heart within 2 meters, how you turn up affects others. And we know that we have the ability, like you just have to be in a car in a traffic jam, and you stare at the person in the car next to you, they'll look at you like you've got So, if we, and they've just found for people who are lonely and alone and don't have physical touch, it's the equivalent on your health expectation of how long you're going to live as smoking 2 packets of cigarette a day.
Oh gosh.
So this interconnection and the way we can actually like hack this vision of the dream life that we want, which is even better, is having your dreams or your orientation connected to being not just of yourself but of others. So you're coming from, how can I benefit? How can I help humanity? Rewire their happiness so that they, with a little twist, can quantum leap to the life they desire. Like, that changes the world and generations. And if I only change one person in 100 years, that's 10,000 people affected. So, tick, job done. And then we've got spirit. And the spirit is really around that claiming your vision of what you want in your life, and understanding, what you want to create, and knowing that you are the predominant creative force in your life. And create, where your focus goes, energy flows. Your focus creates your reality. And where are you focused? What are the stories that you have? So there's a practice. I do 10 orientations every morning about what I want to create in the next 6 months, and coincidences and people turn up, and it's just extraordinary. And then finally it's time. And that's, most people say they don't have time. And time's the biggest commodity we have. And if we can have, we know time's an illusion. We know that neuroscientists and physicists have proven that time does not exist. It's just a construct that we've made to be able to navigate the world. And if we have an opportunity to play with time, play with timelines, see what we can create and believe that we've already created it, and we bring that in, then we're essentially have all the time, capacity, resources to create anything we want in our lives.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm going to come back to that as the sort of final pieces we wind and wrap things up. So I love the your ability to provide the insights and those hacks that you've created and generated, and also the way in which you can map out simplistically the steps that people need to take and can take to create the life that they want. Also bringing it back to your focus, what you focus on creates your reality, which is something you talked about at the very, very beginning, where your mum instilled a lot of that in you, and that has enabled this encompassing vision that you've had. So with everything, and as a bit of a wrap up, with the hacks, with the marketing, with the property, with the visioning, it's very, very evident that your mission and your legacy is absolutely to help people take that quantum leap. So what advice in the final few minutes would you give the audience to enable them to take that first step? And I know that's a big question.
I was walking with my son recently, and I was telling him about a friend of mine who's just got this most amazing job, being paid very well for what she's doing. And he said, "You must be jealous because she's so successful." And I said, "No, I'm not jealous at all." And he said, "But she's so successful. She's so much more successful than you." And I said, "Oh, how do you define success?" And this is a conversation that we don't have. How do you define happiness? How do you define success? And he said, "Oh, having more money than my friends." I'm like, "And what do you do when you have all that money?" He said, "I go on all the holidays." I'm like, "But who with? Because your friends don't have money. Why don't you collaborate with them and so that you can go on holidays together?"
Yeah.
And what a gift to have a conversation with a 17-year-old, because
Yeah.
we haven't had that. So
Yeah.
what's success, or what does happiness mean to you? When was the last time you were happy? When was
Yeah.
everything aligned? And when I talk about the twist, alignment, it's like you have to have everything aligned. You can't just be wealthy and sick. You can't just be, beautiful kind of meditation person and not contributing to others, and doing it solo. So you need to have that, I guess, alignment through all of those aspects of your life. And then truly you can turn up and, create what you want. And I just would suggest to people to, just consider, what does success mean? You're working on these incredible businesses to create financial, abundance for yourself, create transformation for your clients through services and products, etc. But when is it enough? Like, what is enough? And when do you say you've been successful? Because a lot of us, we lose that connection. And do you need to be successful to be happy? What's happiness? When was the last time you're happy?
Yeah, beautiful. And I'm going to ask, as it relates to the neuroscience and the word that keeps synchronistically coming up for me and in conversation. So I know it's the word for the year for me is that word collective. So with everything that that you're seeing in your experience and the ancient wisdom, where do you think the next 12 months will go as it relates to this collective movement? That we're starting to see and feel as it relates to individual businesses. And I'm coming back to that because I've had a similar conversation with Rory that you've had with your son around, if you've got all this money and your friends haven't, who have you got to play with? Playing alone is, gets boring after a while. So let you go where that goes.
Look, as I said, I've kind of been feeling the tension of this for the last 5 or 6 years, and I think that we have there's a collective of awakening, people feeling unease, dis-ease in political and geo. There's so much dis-ease in the world, and I think people are sitting there going, there's things outside of my control, and I don't need to worry about those. What can I control? And I can control the relationships I have and the impact I make. And doing it alone is kind of not satisfying. And so I think this collective is people actually voicing, this is not enough. Having this corporate career or having this business or having what looks like success is not enough. I actually have a deep feeling that there's more, and I want to connect with people who are on that same journey and having that same conversation. And it might be a little uncomfortable, but it's okay to do that, because once you get into tension, you're in growth, you're outside that 2,000 bits of information, and that's where we get to really fully live.
Yeah, beautiful. You just give me goosebumps talking through that. So thank you very much. Yeah, I know, right? So how in the final minute or so, how can people get in contact with you? Where's the best way to find you?
Look, I'm on Facebook, Jane Slacksmith, and I'm on LinkedIn. My Facebook group, which is Your Success Club, is where, it's a free group. I just share lots of wisdom there on all of these different aspects. So you never know if I turn up with an AI tool, business, or something from the past, ancient wisdom. So I'd love people to connect in any one of those places.
Yeah, beautiful. Jane, thank you so much for sharing so much of your wisdom with us and all of your hackability as examples of what is possible. So thank you again for sharing everything that you've done. That's been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you, everyone. Do make sure you reach out to Jane. It's a pleasure as always, and I look forward to seeing you again on another episode of Success Secrets Exposed. Till then.
Remember, if you want to be sought after and sold out, as well as being known as the obvious expert in your industry, you need to speak with Sally, our host of Success Secrets Exposed. Sally is the founder of Monetize Your Content, a done-for-you content marketing agency that helps you be easy to buy. See you next week on another episode of Success Secrets Exposed. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time or Wednesday mornings in Australia on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV.